my question is, what's your worst nightmare?
I don't have nightmares. I just occasionally have dreams that are quite stressful.
Oh, like what?
Increasingly, they involve having to do my A-levels again.
Oh.
For some reason, I've been busted back to the sixth form, and I have to do my A-levels again. I keep saying, this is ridiculous. I've been to university. Why am I having to do my A-levels again? But I do have to do them again. And I wake up all stressed by it.
And then have to go to the toilet.
Yeah. It's quite nice, because I reflect as I go to the toilet that I don't have to do my A-levels again. That's good news.
Are you a nightmare person, Alan?
No, but I wish I had a dream recorder.
They're boring, though, when people tell you their dreams. They're so
no, not
boring.
other people's dreams. I don't want other people's dreams. My own dreams are amazing.
People always go, oh, my hands were made of coleslaw, and then you were in it, and you had, like, really big... And you're like, this is so boring.
Have you ever been... When you hear someone describe their dream and they mention someone's in it, and then you sit there rather hoping that you're going to crop up in it. And then you don't always, and you sort of go, oh, I've not invaded this person's consciousness enough.
Sometimes I have dreams where I need to fight someone and I have no strength, and I'm supposed to get somewhere and I can never get there. And I'm impressed by all the various obstacles I can put in my own way that I invent in the night.
But those are the most common sort of ones. The thing about being chased, not being able to get to the toilet in time. Being exposed publicly naked is a very big thing, and how you respond to that. So if it doesn't bother you, that suggests you are secure in real life. If you're embarrassed, it suggests you are uncomfortable about something. If you don't notice that you're naked, I think you have a lack of self-awareness, is, I think, what it would probably be. Do you sleep on your left or your right side? Because that may have some impact on whether you dream or not.
Do most people have one side?
Oh.
I like...
Are you a tosser and turner?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my God, this is a dream, and you're going to wake up and go to the toilet. And we're all in your dream.
So what did you say, left or right?
Right.
OK, so that fits with the study that they did in 2004. You are more likely to have disturbing dreams if you sleep on your left-hand side than if you sleep on your right-hand side.
So I'm good. So you toss and turn.
It could be either way. I didn't realise. Now I'm making a choice.
Yes.
You know, am I just going for rest or adventure?
What side does your wife sleep on?
I'm not aware of her having a preference for one side
So
or the other.
you have one side of the bed, right? Like,
yeah.
Surely... See,
Yeah, I'm not an idiot.
But my husband makes me sleep facing away from him because I breathe too loudly.
That's quite weird, isn't it?
Well, like those two in the picture.
Oh, yeah.
When I got married, another thing I found out, that it wasn't usual to put your underwear and your socks on before you put any of your clothes on.
Well, you're supposed to put it on afterwards.
No. I
Did you marry a superhero?
I put my underwear on, and then I put my socks on, and then I put my outerwear on.
OK, and what's wrong with that?
Well, apparently it's weird to put your socks on before you put your trousers and your top on.
I think your husband is telling you that things he does are things that everyone does. I think it is perfectly reasonable to put your socks on before your trousers.
It's also perfectly reasonable to breathe while you're asleep.
Your help. How can we persuade the audience to elect me Pope without them noticing that we've done it? That's odd. That's wrong. My hand is not that liver-spotted.
Not having that.
No, I wouldn't either. No, that's so odd. Is there a technique? Well, suppose I wanted to sell them something without telling them that it was...
Some sort of mass suggestion.
Subliminal advertising.
Subliminal advertising.
Do you
It's appallingly cruel of me to try and pull it out of you and then punish you for it. No, it is... The fact is, subliminal advertising has never been shown to work. It's a complete myth. Although it's banned by most broadcasting authorities or FCC in America and things like that, it's not actually ever been shown to work. And in fact, the person who invented it in 1957, a man called Vickery, in 1962, he admitted he'd falsified the evidence. He claimed he'd used it and sold lots of cola and burgers by putting in a flash frame, a single frame, out of 24 frames a second. Obviously, the eye doesn't consciously register it. But it just hasn't been shown to work. I remember they did one in the young ones, an
They
edition.
used to do it all the time in the young ones.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
I'm going back to my childhood, and yes, I'm remembering it all now.
Your childhood?
Well, yes, Ronnie, deal with it.
Anyway, sound. What about audio subliminal messages? Do we know any stories of any famous...
Oh, the court cases about backwards masking, they call it.
Yes.
Which is, you know, satanic messages.
Which
was
an Judas
urban
Priest.
Judas Priest is the story that's
Yeah.
perhaps the most alarming. It was two boys who committed suicide, attempted suicide.
Yes.
And their parents took Judas Priest to court.
They did,
Do
indeed.
you know what the message was, supposedly, in the track?
It
said,
do it now.
Do it now, yeah.
Yeah, and so Halford, as part of the court case, Halford went in with a load of records and played them backwards and then just read out a list of things that you could hear in records when played backwards.
Yeah.
Just to show how.
He also said, I don't wish to paint myself as greedy, but if we were going to put a message in, it would be buy more of our records. He also said, do it doesn't mean kill yourself.
Stephen, the song was called Suicide Solution.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Oh. OK. All right.
Finally, being in a pop quiz pays off!
Other mistake news. Why have Google been suffering from rogue anuses?
Oh, yes. 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 This is... there's a...
Yes!
Yeah. There's a computer program which misreads old print, so arms comes out as anus, so farewell to anus. I drape my anus across her shoulder in a comforting manner. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. They sound as if I'm making it up, but I'm not, am I, David?
You're not making it up.
No.
The scanning technology they use to turn books into e-books can't differentiate between arms and anus in certain typefaces.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from John Mackay Wilson's Tales of the Borders. Poor Janet shuddered at the words which she heard him utter, for with strange and wicked oaths he vowed vengeance on the individual who'd persecuted him, and she flung her anus around his neck and kissed his forehead. From Georgina Bragg's Matisse on the Loose, she grabbed my anus and positioned my body in the direction of the East Gallery, and we started walking. And in the complete works of Washington Irving, there is a reference to the great captain who had been one of his comrades in anus. Are there any other words that Google Books scanning technology is confused?
Yeah, I can't do tax.
Yes, it reads tax as free. No, it's burn and bum get muddled up as well, as in a patent for a carrier for an integrated circuit that talks of bum-in electrical contacts.
God, Scotland, what happens? It's bums night.
Where they all join anuses and sing Old Lang
Time now for the odd one out round. One between you this week. Your four are SpongeBob SquarePants, Sally Burko, Walter Tell, and Carmen Miranda.
Fruit.
Sally Burko fruitcake?
No, she was caught... I'm sure I saw this on Channel 4 News. This was big. She was at one of the conferences balancing some item of fruit on her head in a bar.
Yes, that's correct.
Walter Tell, son of William, balanced an apple on his head and had it shot off by his father. Carmen Miranda had a whole bowl of fruit on her head. Fantastic, and sang, "Yes, we have no bananas." SpongeBob SquarePants, he's quite a guy. Bob is the odd one out.
Yeah.
Is it because he's got a friend called Patrick?
And he's the odd one out because nobody else knows anybody called Patrick.
Where does SpongeBob live?
He lives under the sea.
a pineapple.
Yes, but also under...
A pineapple.
No.
Yes!
Yay!
Hello. Right. Is there an echo?
Did you say
Is
it?
there an echo?
Did you say under a pineapple first?
There was a little echo over that
I
side.
don't know.
He did all... You know what? Let him have it. Proper chairman, and God love you, Hump, would have said by now, I'm going to award points to both sides.
But I can't say it now. How spineless would I look? Yes, SpongeBob SquarePants is the odd one out. How would you describe his voice, Ian?
Rough. manly.
Putted Lord Helsham.
Well, Tom Kenny, the man behind the distinctive voice, describes it as a dolphin with a touch of seagull thrown in, which is also a starter at Heston Blumenthal's. Can you name any of Carmen Miranda's hits?
Yes.
We have
I like you very much. Way down among Brazilians, coffee beans grow by the millions, and they got a lot of coffee there to sell. There's a full lot of coffee in Brazil. At last, the show's coming to life.
Carmen Miranda cracked America, but her English wasn't great. She told one magazine, I say 20 words in English, I say money, 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 and I say hot dog. She went on to teach Nancy DeLolio how to speak English. Yes, they've all had fruit on their heads, apart from SpongeBob SquarePants, who lives under a pineapple in a fun town under the sea. Sort of like Blackpool will be once all the fracking starts.
They're not new.
You know when you find a bee and it's crawling on its last legs?
I always rescue them.
You give it honey. It's the only thing they eat. Makes sense when you think about it. No point just talking to it, give it honey.
They're very much a one-recipe species, aren't they?
I'm intrigued because I generally give it the sole of my shoe, but you know, not to be harsh, but you know,
It's treading on a struggling, crawling bee, trying to get back to the hive.
What? As opposed to rehabilitate it?
I like honey. I have it on my porridge, you murderer.
Yeah, but
You depend on bees.
We need the bees.
okay. So in future, I should lure the bee back. And sorry, do I get a syringe of honey, just a tiny amount of honey? How do I feed this
Teaspoon of honey,
disabled
leave
bee?
it with the honey, don't tread on it. It should be criminal offence.
but-
You should be arrested. You should be locked up, you know where? In a hive.
But isn't it true, though, that a bee in his entire lifetime makes an absolutely tiny amount of honey overall? I mean, just a
But there are just
minute
lots
amount
of
of
them,
honey.
yeah.
So you don't have to give much rehabilitating honey to this one bee before the nation, the world, is making a net loss. It's useless. If you only get 1 teaspoon of honey from a whole bee's lifetime, and every time we have to get it back on its feet, it takes a teaspoon and a half, suddenly there's no honey at all.
This is more honey than this bee has seen in its life.
Yeah.
It's just gonna
You're insulting it, apart from anything else. It's like showing a very tired mason a whole cathedral.
Well, let's say that you're in between Alan and Dara. So, like Alan, you want to help the bee give it honey, but like Dara, you also want to kill. What you can do is you get what I would term too much honey, and you see the bee, and you pour molten... Look, hear me out.
All right, OK.
And then you watch him die a slow... As
Yeah, I carry on with... Yes, I've now heard you out.
Yes.
And it's no better.
Well, no, that's
worse. Much worse than what I did.
Torturing
You're
a
being
bee.
humane, are you?
Yeah, I am being...
You're not. You're getting a kick out of it.
Let's forget that.
Drowning the bee ironically in honey. You want some honey? How much honey do you want? Is this too much honey?
Oh, not so keen on the honey now, are you?
Very good. Well, thank you for that interesting, fierce, and I think productive debate.
Key part did Bigots play in the Second World War?
Bigots? What do you mean?
Bigots.
You're talking of...
Not that kind of bigot,
that kind of
actually.
bigot.
We're being a diversionary tactic.
That's a bit of a minor description.
Yes, I think it is, exactly. This word is bigot with a bigot.
Oh, he was a bigot, was he? Oh, the more I hear about it. Is that an acronym, though, for something?
Yes,
Bigot.
it's an acronym. B-I-G-O-T. No, it's British. Churchill chose it.
Oh, really? Beware.
Brown
I've
girls
got
on toast.
one
trouser. Well, I've got one trouser. Yes.
I'm getting out
tomorrow.
Blimey! I've got...
It's gone off.
Owls! Turned...
Owls?
Owls.
He's so shit at I Spy, I can't tell you.
Bigot stands for British Invasion of German Occupied Territory. So there's Montep, and there's Winnie,
And they're looking at a map, as you can see, and they're planning D-Day.
Flannel over there.
D-Day.
OK, chaps.
Got your flannel.
Everybody got their flannel.
All flannelled up. Of course, Churchill was the only person who Monty would let smoke. Well, yes, it was so secret that anybody who knew any details of the Normandy landings, they were on the bigot list, and they were not allowed under any circumstances to leave the country. The only exception was Churchill himself, but no one on the bigot list was allowed out of Britain. And indeed, there was a rehearsal for the invasion in 1944, and 10 people on the bigot list were killed accidentally. And all plans for the invasion were put on hold until they could account for every single one of the bodies, just to be absolutely sure that the secret didn't get out.
Right. Well,
So-
I mean, it's not... I mean, yeah.
It's got out now, we know
Got
now.
out now, yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't... It's not like it was unlikely it wasn't going to happen, was it? I mean, England's there, France is there...
I know, but we did everything we possibly could to persuade them that it was going to be further across towards Belgium, and indeed they withheld divisions further away from Normandy, where we landed, precisely because Germany fell for some of the spies, the Zigzag Man and Zabo, and that poor old chap who was a dead body, who was dressed as if he was an important officer and dropped in the sea outside Gibraltar with a chained briefcase next to him with plans in it. And they gave him a whole life. It was called The Man Who Never Was. It's a film of it.
Who actually was he?
He was probably a very sad, down-and-out Welsh chap who died very young and been found sleeping rough somewhere, and they dressed him up smartly to look like an officer.
You wouldn't have to do that now. You just get someone from Big Brother or something. You know? People volunteer for it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's the prize. Certainly the rest of us would.
Yes, surprises. You're going to be killed. You're going to be a fake general. Oh, empty.
No, it is. It's a good film. Have you ever seen it coming around on
I
Channel
will.
4 one afternoon, sort of thing that pops up now and again?
Yes, I will.
It's funny to think when he was alive, he didn't know what a key part he'd play when he was dead.
I know. Operation Mincemeat, it was called.
Yeah. You can sign up to this service now when you're alive, which monitors your tweets and Facebook updates and things. And then when you're dead, it continues to tweet as you until an executor of the will who you've nominated tells it to stop. And while you're alive, you give it feedback as to how good it is. And I'm starting this business, and if anyone... No, it already exists.
Well, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
So you can set how long it goes on till?
Yeah, well, you give someone's name and you say, this person makes the decision as to when the virtual me dies. And then you give it feedback. So if it's slightly funnier than you are, you say, oh, it's quite good, but bring it down a notch.
So people, so somebody employs to be you then after your death, or it's not just you going dead, 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 still dead, dead.
Yeah.
And then your followers go up. Oh, he's dead, dead. Oh.
You know, with one's contact list, when people die, I never have the heart to cut them out. So I have friends that have been dead 12, 15 years who are still in my address book because I just.
Have they ever called?
They manifestly haven't called, and I haven't called them. But the act of just going delete seems so.
I've done the same thing, but the good thing is, if someone dead does call you, you'll know it's them.
Yes.
You'll know not to answer.
I know that I've been wrong all this time. I know not to answer. That's true. Well, of course, that number might be reused.
Oh, they do recycle them, yeah.
Yes.
So that it is possible that
that
one
would
day.
be the shock of one's life.
In fact, it's probable that one day that coincidence will happen. Someone who's got an old number of a dead person will accidentally ring a person who... God, I can't wait till that happens.
Not New Labour anymore. No. I hadn't noticed that. They're going to rebrand.
Yeah, Labour.
Labour Classic.
They couldn't call themselves New Labour when Blair left. It's like when Mike Nolan left Bucks Fizz. They couldn't call themselves Bucks Fizz anymore.
Labour could go with Bucks Fizz. Champagne socialists, but slightly diluted with orange juice. And the Lib Dems, what are they?
I think they're going to sit this election out. That's probably...
They've got a note from their mother.
I think they'll play the sympathy vote to a certain extent. Just have Nick Clegg topless holding a puppy, just looking into the camera like that.
According to the Sunday Times, what has David Cameron decided to do?
Resign.
No.
Go on holiday.
No, this is about the TV debates.
He's going to debate with Nigel Farage. He's going for the toughest one first.
That's right. Cameron is going to take on Farage. According to the Sunday Times, Cameron wants the TV debates to be in a 2-3-5 formation. So that's Cameron Miliband, Clegg Miliband Cameron, and Farage Cameron Clegg Miliband with Yaya Toure behind the strikers. Thank you for laughing. I don't know what that meant. Who cooperated with the FIFA inquiry?
The English.
Yes,
Great
no
point.
one except the English and the Australians, and definitely not the Russians or the Qataris.
We never get it, do we? We're conducting... Oh, yes, we'll help. You're guilty.
But why... I mean, why would anyone believe the Russians could be corrupt? But why didn't they cooperate with the FIFA inquiry?
Because they destroyed all their records by accident. Yes. As you do when someone says, I'm conducting an investigation.
It was simply that the Russians were unable to provide more than a few documents from the bidding process because the computers they used during their bid had been leased, they were returned and subsequently destroyed by their original.
We must bid for the World Cup. First, we must rent some computers.
Qatari Mohammed bin Hammam undoubtedly paid money to a delegate from Tahiti specifically to vote for the Qatari bid, but why have FIFA dismissed this as irrelevant?
But they said he wasn't acting on behalf of the Qataris. Despite being Qatari, and described by the Qataris as their greatest asset in our bid for the World Cup, he was not acting for them. Thank goodness FIFA sorted that one out.
But in this instance, they know he paid money to a delegate to vote for the Qatari bid, so that it's definitely to do with the Qatari bid, but they dismissed it as irrelevant because they said this was only one vote out of the 13 required and therefore could not have been significant. If the ballot papers of 1/13 of the British electorate were forged, that wouldn't be relevant because it couldn't affect the result.
No.
I mean, it's not funny, but these people are arseholes. What, according to the FIFA report, did the English bidding team do that was so worthy of condemnation?
They organised a gala dinner for Warner and generally sucked up to him.
It's almost sweet, our pathetic attempts to bribe them. We sponsored a dinner for Caribbean football to the tune of £30,000 and found a part-time job for a friend of Jack Warner. That's the Jack Warner that the Qataris paid over $1 million to. I think they got a signed copy of your book as well. Did you see the exchange of emails between some of bin Hammam's staff as the allegations of corruption first surfaced?
No.
Well, they appeared in the Sunday Times. It starts, I need you to start shredding his correspondence. So soon? Yes, start from now. There are 3 years of filing to be shredded. Just do it discreetly, OK? What about the request from the Russians to shred?
When was the First World War first named as such?
The outbreak, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand.
You think they called it the First World War straight away?
Before it started.
It would be an act of a pessimist to call it the First World War that early, surely. It's going to be some point after 1939, isn't it?
A realist, surely.
So
there's going to be more of these.
Yeah.
At what point?
Excuse me, I think what I said, people in the box, is after 1939, which may contain 1939, but does not mean it.
No, well...
OK, no. After 1939 and after the Second World War are not synonymous. Now, this is just giving you time to type after 1939. Why don't you just type, Mitchell is a cop?
If I hypnotised you, but then cut off your leg, how much fuss would you make?
Doesn't it depend what you've gone in for the hypnosis for? I mean, if you'd gone in to stop smoking, I'd be a bit miffed, really.
That's a very good point. Assuming you'd gone in because you had, you know, gangrene or you needed to lose your leg, but you...
They've never used hypnosis as an anaesthetic, have they?
Well,
surely that would give you screaming in agony.
Oddly enough, no. It was used before ether in the 1830s, very commonly. Well, reasonably commonly, at least. Once Mesmer had sort of, as it were, introduced the world to the idea of hypnotism. What seems to be the case is that most of the discomfort we feel, even in an operation like sawing off a leg, is the anxiety of pain. If you can relieve yourself of the anxiety, enormous amount of the pain goes. And a good example to prove this is people who are in some way allergic to or resistant to anaesthetic and so can't be put under because it's too risky. And so they're injected with Valium, which is an anti-anxiety drug. And all it does is tranquilise them, doesn't send them to sleep. It just makes them feel less anxious. And you can do extraordinary things to someone in that condition.
I think if I was going in for surgery, I'd feel quite anxious when I saw the man in the top hat with the crazy eyebrows.
It would be a worry, I agree. But it has a long history. As I say, in the 1830s, there was a Scottish doctor who did a lot of operations in India, where there's a really unpleasant disease called filariasis, and it causes hydroceles of the scrotum. Now, anything scrotal, you might say, is a worry, but this...
Makes your scrotum go into a triangle.
No, that would be isosceles. This is hydroceles.
And he never ate dairy again.
These are large tumours, and the operation was so uncomfortable, people would go for years not daring to go to a doctor. But this meant the tumours grew very big. And when I say very big, I mean 46 kilograms. Scrotum. People, literally, there was a case of a man who was using his scrotum as a writing desk. I'm sorry, but that is true.
Well,
Writing.
That's a good attitude to
It's a
have,
good
isn't
attitude,
it?
you're right.
Yeah, I would get a Sharpie and I would paint the face off the front of a space hopper on mine.
I'd make it look like a hedgehog. Winking.
This was the 1830s, of course, when there was no general anaesthetic. It was before ether or chloroform. So this Scottish doctor, whose name was Esdale, he would put them under, and it worked. He saved a lot of discomfort.
Your eyes are feeling heavy. Not as heavy as my testicles, doctor.
It's quite you're kind of sort of suggesting that sort of a lot of pain is just a manifestation of anxiety, really,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the fact is pain is created by the brain. I mean, it's not a real thing.
It's just information, isn't it?
It's information.
But you know,
and if
sort of hammer
the brain can create it, the brain can be told not to.
It's bloody
still
sore
doesn't-
information, though.
It doesn't help you know, land a big mallet on your thumb. It's just information. It's
Yeah.
just information. It doesn't really help. I tried to be hypnotised to stop smoking once, and he was such a nice man, and it so wasn't going anywhere. I faked it. I know you mustn't. Even when it's a nice man, just to, you know, save the embarrassment, you mustn't fake it, but I did.
Did it work? Do you smoke? Have you given
No,
up?
no, it didn't. I did give up, but with prescription drugs, not with...
Superb.
It's a new starter home.
It's a man who's tried to post himself.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, it is. This is the news that a burglar has been posting himself to businesses in order to rob them.
Fantastic.
How does he get out with the loot?
Well, how does he get himself delivered in the first place? Does he just sort of get into the box outside a post office with the address on it in the hope that the postman will go, I must have missed that earlier. 15-stone package.
Do you know what ruined the plan in the end?
Yeah, wrong postage.
Yeah, not enough.
This isn't a British story, though, is it?
No, he's Polish.
Yeah, because you'd just die in the box, wouldn't you? Waiting to be sent.
They force him through the letterbox. do not bend. It specifically said do.
In other news, who can tell me which former Tory MP once scaled a building to break into his own office?
It was Rory.
It was Rory. Very impressive for a civilian, yeah? We know you can't say, but it's lovely to have you here. Who has been claiming they're a spy recently? Relative of the fantasist-in-chief?
Stanley Johnson.
Correct. Stanley Johnson. According to him, in the 1960s, he was recruited while studying at Oxford and giving training which included the task of blowing up the power station in Blyth on the Northumberland coast, which he did successfully. And why was Stanley Johnson only a spy for 6 months? Stanley himself told The Times, my incompetence might have cost people their lives. It's a bit of a family trait. This is the news that MI5 want to recruit more people from diverse backgrounds. Rory Stewart has denied being a spy, but has considered going undercover. He recently told New Yorker magazine that he considered living on a council estate for 2 or 3 years to better understand British poverty. Well, you could try, Rory, but thanks to your old party, there's a 30-fucking-year waiting list. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features a guest publication from Rory's old stomping ground, the Penrith Ramblers Group newsletter. And we start with what mocked for looking like Phil Collins?
Lewisham Town Hall. That's right, isn't it? I can tell. It's Lewisham Town Hall.
Not right.
But people say it all the time. It's Phil Collins. Oh, no, it's Lewisham Town Hall.
The answer is statue of baby Jesus, mocked for looking like Phil
Oh,
Collins.
I've got to see this. Oh.
This is a church in Mexico who accidentally installed this.
OK, give us a clue. Which is which?
And it's quite good, really. It's Genesis.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.